Welcome to the Dessert Lab. Please like, share, and subscribe to our videos. Apple pie, uncovering the history, anatomy, and cultural significance of America's favorite dessert. Apple pie, the quintessential American dessert that never goes out of style. It's a staple at family gatherings, a comfort food that warms the heart, and a symbol of warmth and hospitality. But what makes a truly great apple pie? Is it the flaky crust, the tender apples, or the perfect balance of sweet and tart flavors? For many of us, baking an apple pie from scratch can be a daunting task. We've all been there, struggling to get the crust just right, worrying that the apples will be too soggy or too dry, and stressing about the perfect blend of spices. But with a few simple tips and tricks, you can create a delicious homemade apple pie that's sure to impress your friends and family. In this video, we'll explore the art of making the perfect apple pie, from choosing the right ingredients to mastering the techniques that'll take your baking to the next level. Whether you're a seasoned baker or a beginner in the kitchen, you'll learn the secrets to creating a truly unforgettable apple pie that's sure to become a family favorite. Origins of apple pie. When we think of apple pie, we often associate it with American culture and tradition. However, the origins of this beloved dessert are more complex and nuanced than we might expect. To truly understand the history of apple pie, we need to take a step back and explore its medieval European roots and the influence of early American colonists. Medieval European roots. Apple pie has its roots in medieval Europe, where apples were a staple fruit. The first recorded apple pie recipe was found in a 1381 book called The Form of Curry, written by the master cooks of King Richard II of England. This early recipe consisted of a filling made from apples, sugar, and spices, wrapped in a pastry crust. The use of pastry as a crust was a game-changer in the world of baking, allowing for the creation of more complex and delicious desserts. As European cuisine evolved, so did the recipe for apple pie. The addition of new spices and ingredients, such as cinnamon and nutmeg, gave the pie a unique flavor that became a hallmark of European baking. Apple pie became a staple dessert in many European countries, including England, France, and Germany. Influence of early American colonists. When European colonists arrived in America, they brought their love of apple pie with them. The New World offered a new set of challenges and opportunities for bakers, including access to new ingredients and cooking techniques. American colonists adapted the traditional European recipe to incorporate local ingredients, such as sugar from the Caribbean and spices from Asia. The first American apple pie recipe was published in 1796 in a book called American Cookery by Amelia Simmons. This recipe was similar to its European counterparts, but with some notable differences. American apple pie often featured a thicker crust and a more generous use of sugar, reflecting the country's growing wealth and access to resources. As American cuisine continued to evolve, apple pie became an integral part of the country's culinary identity. It was often served at family gatherings and celebrations, and its warm, comforting aroma became synonymous with American hospitality. Today, apple pie remains a beloved dessert around the world, with its rich history and cultural significance making it a true classic. The anatomy of a classic apple pie. When it comes to a classic apple pie, there's more to it than just tossing some apples in a crust and baking until golden brown. A true masterpiece requires a deep understanding of its individual components, how they work together in harmony, and the techniques that bring them to life. In this section, we'll dissect the anatomy of a classic apple pie, exploring the essential elements that make it a beloved dessert. The crust, a flaky, buttery foundation. The crust is the foundation upon which a great apple pie is built. It's the first thing you notice when you take a bite, and it sets the tone for the rest of the experience. A flaky, buttery crust is the hallmark of a well-made pie, and it's achieved through a combination of the right ingredients, techniques, and patience. So, what makes a great crust? Cold ingredients. Keeping your butter and water ice cold is crucial for creating a flaky crust. This ensures that the butter doesn't melt and mix with the flour, resulting in a tough, dense crust. The right ratio, finding the perfect balance of flour, butter, and water is key. Too much flour, and your crust will be dry and crumbly. Too much butter, and it'll be greasy and overwhelming. Gentle handling, mix your ingredients just until they come together in a shaggy mass, then stop. Overworking the dough will lead to a tough, dense crust that's more like cardboard than pastry. The filling, a harmonious balance of apples, sugar, and spices. While the crust provides the foundation, the filling is where the magic happens. A great apple pie filling is all about balance, the perfect blend of sweet, tart, and spicy that complements the apples without overpowering them. So, what makes a great filling? The right apples. Not all apples are created equal when it comes to pie making. Look for a mix of sweet, tart, and firm varieties, such as Granny Smith, Golden Delicious, and Honeycrisp. Sugar and spice. The amount of sugar and spice you add will depend on the type of apples you're using and your personal taste preferences. A general rule of thumb is to use a combination of granulated sugar, brown sugar, and a blend of warm spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. Don't overdo it. Resist the temptation to overfill your pie crust. This can lead to a messy, overflowing pie that's more like a cobbler than a pie. Leave a little room for the filling to expand during baking, and you'll be rewarded with a beautifully presented pie that's almost too pretty to eat. Almost. Stay tuned for part 2, where we continue with the next steps of this delicious apple pie. Thank you for watching our videos. Remember to give us like, share, and subscribe.